Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, dating, relationships, love, life, friendships, you name it, you've got it right here. So subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. So have you ever been an observer where you've seen a couple together and you just think the guy's being a complete asshole? If you have, this video is for you. And if you want to avoid getting into a relationship with one of these type of guys, or maybe you are a guy and you need a rain check to realize that maybe some of your behavior isn't healthy and you're going to be having a much more harder time the worse you are as a partner in a relationship, then stay tuned because this episode is definitely for you. First of all, if you didn't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of this awesome Asexual Perspective book out on Amazon and also Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook. So go and grab your copy of those now. So yes, if you want to not be an a-hole husband or partner, or you're looking for someone not to be like that, or you want to know the traits of an a-hole husband or partner so you can make sure you're not going to be that person, then stay tuned. So yes, I was on my way back from Disneyland Paris and I was on the Eurostar. And I got very uncomfortable on this Eurostar because when I went to sit down, there was a woman who was complaining about where I was. Basically, I had a hold all and I had a big suitcase with me. The suitcase was in the luggage rack. The hold all was going to be at the table seat that I had ordered, that I booked. And this husband and wife came along with a kid, and the woman wasn't actually very nice to me. She was moaning about the fact that my bag was in her way. And she's like, oh, we can put it up there for you. I said, it's got my change of clothes in here and my food I need. She goes, well, I booked this table and I need this space free for my feet. Right? I booked it as well. And in the end, they put so much luggage on the rack that I couldn't even fit my hold all up there anyway. I just put it under my seat. So it hardly stuck out anyway. So I didn't feel very wanted in that scenario. But I was aware they had a child and that was a small table, right? And they probably needed space for the kid and probably didn't expect someone else to be booked in that seat. But even so, it was a bit rude. Actually, in this scenario, there's two scenarios I want to show you, very much contrasting. The husband was really nice because I was like kind of trying to get my stuff out the way because I put my food on there already because I kind of sort of settled down already before they came along. And I was like, getting a bit agitated to make sure they did have room for themselves, the mother and the kid. And the husband's like, oh, and I knew that the husband was either going to be sat next to me or in front of me. And the husband's like, it's okay, you're fine, I've just got to get myself ready. So that is an example of a guy who's a husband who's laid back, relaxed, appreciative of the person in front, respectful of me. That was a good guy. And he continued to be a good guy throughout our journey. He actually thanked me much later because I did move seats because I went to the toilet and there were some spare seats like diagonally opposite. So I thought I'd go in those seats because as a family, I realized it was very difficult to have me there, and I thought it better to give them some space. I was just worried in case it stopped at Lille and more people were going to get on, and therefore I was going to lose those seats that I'd moved to. So I did say when I came back from the toilet that I was going to move, but if someone came on at Lille, I'd have to move back again. And they said, that's fine. And much later on, towards the very end of my journey, the husband came and thanked me and said, thank you so much for moving. It meant that my son was able to put his head down on my wife's lap and spread his legs out and lie with her. And I said that was fine. So he was a very good example of a good husband. He was calm, collected, respectful, and he took responsibility for the son and parenting, because when he first sat down, he was like to his son, where do you want to sit, next to mummy or daddy? So he's very much involved in the kids' well-being and welfare, very respectful of his kids, at his child, asking his child what the child's opinion is. So it's treating the child like a young adult from a young age, which basically means that that kid's going to grow up being able to make its own decisions and know that it's fine whatever it wants. that it's okay to make decisions for itself. It has ownership. It's given agency from a very small age. Bear in mind, this kid was very young. I don't know, probably 6 years old or something. And so it could have been less than that, actually. But, anyway, I just was really impressed with this guy. He was better towards me and more respectful than the woman was. So that was an example of a really good guy. He gave the kid agency. He basically worked towards the kid and what his wife wanted. Very accommodating. Right, and I moved seats, and another reason why I moved seats as well is because it was so uncomfortable, because in the seat opposite, there was a woman breastfeeding. She did have a top over, but, she was feeding her baby, and I knew what she was doing. It made me so uncomfortable. So I moved to seats so I couldn't see anything going on. Unfortunately, she moved seats later on, and so I was able to see her still, and I'm like, "Oh, no." But, she still kept in the same area, but then I end up being directly kind of in the space where I could see her because of the seat I'd moved to. So that made me really uncomfortable because I'm not a baby person. I don't like breastfeeding personally. I just really repulsed by it, I think. But anyway, this woman who was breastfeeding her child, I have to say, the guy behaved really disgustingly with her. And this is something I want you to take on board. And if you're in a situation with a guy, just think of how this might affect you or happen to you. Or if you're a guy and you think it's okay to behave like this, it's damn well not. There's a quote in the entrepreneur world that says, if you do what's easy, your life will be much harder. If you do what's harder, your life will be easier, right? So it's easy to just be rude or mean and disrespectful to someone, right? It's easy for some people to do that. It's not much effort. It's easy to be lazy, not actually in conversation with your partner, closed off, blaming, not taking responsibility. That's kind of an easy route, right? But if you want a harmonious relationship, whether that's marriage or partnership with anyone, you're going to need to get along with that person because you're going to be with them for years, right? And if you can't be responsible for your own actions and also help in the relationship and foster positivity and respect and caringness and kindness and realize that you're just as much responsible for that relationship as the other person is. And if you've got children or baby, you need to take equal responsibility of that. Then you're going to have a hard, rocky relationship. It's going to be very unfair on the person who you're with, and you are just going to have a really rocky time. It's going to be up and down the whole time. Is that really what you want in your life? Right? So do not be an a-hole, husband or partner. This guy was being a real asshole to his partner, right? So the conversation basically went, they had a little bit of an argument. The conversation went that she was doing everything with the baby. She was feeding the baby, looking after the baby, pretty much doing everything with the baby. He was not happy even changing the nappy of the baby. He was not happy doing any of that. And then he started to accuse her basically of stuff like being late, kind of like being late. But basically, he was like blaming her for stuff. She was really tired. She could have done with some help. She could have done with some support from him. And you could see he just looked really embarrassed to even get involved in helping his own child, which was a baby, helping his own baby. He seemed embarrassed to change it, embarrassed to be near it, didn't really want much to do with it. It was just piling all the pressure and the responsibility on his partner. I presume they were married. But, it's horrible. And he was saying, oh, basically accusing her of, I think it's being lazy and saying it's all your fault. And she's saying it's not, because it's basically his responsibility as well. So if you want to be a good husband, a good father, you need to take equal responsibility for things. You should never ever leave everything to the woman. Right? You shouldn't think, even if you're working, you shouldn't think, oh, I'm working, I'm coming home, the woman can cook, clean for me, look after the baby and everything else. No, a baby is a full-time job. I don't have a baby. I don't want a baby because it is a frigging full-time job. But if you've inserted your penis or your sperm into a woman, then you should take responsibility for that. And you should be helping the woman to bring up the kid. to feed the baby. If you can't breastfeed, fair enough, but there are other ways of feeding a baby, like physical food, baby food, bottle food. You know what I'm saying? And also, if you can't do that part, you can do the nappy changing, you can do the cuddling of the kid, you can try and calm the kid down in between feed times and stuff like that. And you can give the woman a break and you can thank the woman for all the hard work she's doing bringing up your child, right? That you took equal part in, not sitting there basically pushing all the responsibility onto her and being a complete asshole. You know, this is something I observed and I thought was horrible. He was blaming her for everything. He wasn't taking responsibility at all for the baby, for anything. He looked really embarrassed to even have a baby. I don't even know why he had the baby with her. It seems like he wants all the joy of the baby to say, I've got a baby, wants none of the responsibility or anything to do with it. It was really poor on his point and they were with two people who must have been their friends in front of them. So he was saying like, "Oh, it's all your fault," and she was like saying, "No, it's yours." You know, and I know that she said, "No, it's yours back," but she said, like, "I've been doing everything with this baby. I've been feeding it and doing everything. You haven't basically done anything." You know, and then he's just basically gaslighting her by and being rude to her by making her think that it's fine for his behavior is to just like, oh well, you're being lazy and I'm doing, you know, and basically he's trying to blur her reality a bit by making her think she's a problem when she's clearly not. Right? I saw her on the train how much she was feeding this baby, how much she was talking, like helping it when it's crying and all sorts. And I saw his reaction was basically on his face. We didn't want anything to do with the baby. You know, I saw all his body language. You know, he's more embarrassed about the fact that baby was crying and wanted feeding and, you know, anything, you know, touching and stuff like comforting. You know, this is not good, right? If you are going to be a husband or a father, you're going to be in partnership with someone. You need to, one, take responsibility for your whole life and your actions. You're responsible. It's like when I had a guy on Badu saying, I said, why did you know, telling me he's 35, not 30. And I'm like, well, why did you be not honest? Oh, because I pressed the wrong button. I'm like, well, why didn't you press the correct button after that? Oh, my phone just does it, you know, just weird things. It's like, hang on a minute, you're in charge of your frigging phone. You're in charge of typing things out. You can delete it and start over. It's just like the fact that he couldn't even take responsibility for the fact he uses his phone and he's in charge of his phone. I said, you're in control of your phone. Do you know what I mean? These type of guys that can't even take responsibility for any actions, for their lies, their deceit, their dishonesty in any way, that think it's all right to do that, it's not good. If you want a healthy, happy relationship, which I'm assuming you do, I'm assuming you don't want 10 or 15, 20 years, 5 years, even 1 year or 6 months of arguing with your partner and of basically being horrible to her, because that's just going to make your life hell as well, then why not be a good person? Why not learn respect and responsibility and caringness and compassion and kindness? And that means that even if a woman is predominantly in the home or she's doing more of something than you are, it doesn't mean to say you can't help out. It doesn't mean to say you can't contribute to what she's doing as well. Do you know what I mean? Just coming home and thinking, oh, my woman does everything for me is a very male, misogynistic, chauvinistic attitude, especially in the 21st bloody century. Women don't have to be slaves to guys anymore. They don't have to do everything. Like being a homemaker or working at home, doing housework is a full-time frigging job. If the woman's not well, help out. If the woman is tired, help out. And even if she isn't, help out sometimes, because she shouldn't be lumbering all the responsibility. If you're living together, then, you know, your responsibility is to actually put your underwear in the wash, right? You know what I mean? This is like basic stuff where some people just leave their underwear on the floor, you know, but you need to be respectful and take responsibility for every single action in your life. If you're there giving excuses about why your age is different on Facebook, for example, it's because you lied to Facebook. It's because you tried to get on Facebook under a different age. You're a liar. You're dishonest. One time you be dishonest is like a lifetime. If you lie once, you can lie about anything because you don't think it's important. Oh, right, I just lied about my age. A lie is a lie. It's dishonesty. Right? What are you going to do next? I just lied that I kissed that woman. I just lied that I happened to fall in that woman's lap. I just lied that I've gone round hurting someone. I just lied that I was away doing this for my partner, but she doesn't need to know. You know, it's just deceit and dishonesty, right? You shouldn't be this type of person, right? You should be honest, caring, kind, sympathetic, compassionate, and you should be able to express your opinions and feelings and thoughts in a mature and logical and caring, thoughtful manner, right? If someone is doing all the work in the relationship, it's one sided, it's no good. That person has every right to leave you. And down the line, if you keep being an asshole like that, 9 times out of 10, they will leave you. Maybe you come from a religion or cultural background where you think the woman can never leave you, but there are still women in even like certain cultures and religions where you're not supposed to get divorced that do actually get divorced and then, or they end up moving out and living on their own because they can't stand it anymore, right? No one has to be with you in life. A person chooses to be with you, and maybe you're married to someone. That person doesn't have to stay married to you. Well, they don't even have to stay living with you. They can do what the hell they want. And why be a twat, an idiot, an asshole of a person in a relationship when you can be a good person, an honest person, a caring person, a compassionate person, a respectful person, and that way you'll get along much better with the person, right? If someone's married, they're usually married for many years. Why have a miserable marriage? You can change all that if you step up to the plate and take responsibility. That guy was a bad, was an example of a really bad husband. I presume they were married, partner and father, right? Because he didn't take any responsibility for the kid. He looked embarrassed to even be having a baby around him, like it wasn't even his, like, oh, it's doing whatever the wife can, or the partner can see to it. I'm, really got nothing to do with it type attitude. It was absolutely disgusting. How do you think that baby's going to feel with the energy between these two people, right? The fact they're not getting along, with the fact she feels she's doing everything and he couldn't give a shit because that's the way he was. He couldn't care less, right? This energy for the baby is disgusting. I don't want a baby, but I don't believe it's fair to put a baby in those conditions with the parents like that. It's disgusting, right? Because the baby needs to know that it's feeling safe. And if one partner is not even taking responsibility for their side of the relationship and their side of the parenting, that's a bad energy. Babies pick up on energy. They can tell if something's wrong. They can tell if something's not good. They can tell if there's conflict and contrast. And I hate breastfeeding personally, even though I know loads of people think it's natural and it's the right thing to do. But imagine she's having, her partner's offhand with her. He doesn't really want anything to do with the baby. And she's having the majority of time to, put his baby up to her, I can't even say the word, NIPPLE, and suck it most of the way under this like long top just to keep the baby satisfied. But yet she's not feeling happy herself. Just imagine all that tension in her breast and body is being fed to the baby, and she can feel that energy when her husband isn't even, or partner isn't even helping her. She's doing that, and she's doing it in a way as like just to please the baby because she needs to get it to calm down because it was crying a lot of the time. She needs to feed it, but yet she's got him being an asshole. And that energy, like putting a baby to her breast, I don't even like talking about this, really cringes me out. But doing that in that type of energy, it's not going to help the baby. And it's not going to help her breast. It's going to be really sore because she's going to be like tense and everything. It's just not healthy. So please do not be an asshole, right? Be a good guy. Be a good person, right? Don't lie. Don't cheat. Be active. If you're going to have a baby, take responsibility for that and be a big part of the kid's life. Be a big part of the baby's life because that baby needs you. And it needs to see goodness, and it needs to see a healthy relationship. It's not healthy if you can't even admit that you gave birth to the baby as well, basically, because you contributed to its birth, if you like, and you, even if you adopt, you should still take on full responsibility of the parenting role anyway, because you should be responsible. Most people these days, a lot of young guys, for example, are that egotistical. They can't even take responsibility. They can't even say sorry. I mean, what the hell is going through their head when they can't even say sorry? I bet to their mother or to their sister or their cousin, they're more likely to say sorry. I can imagine some mothers, like Indian mothers, whack the kids over the head and say, like, why did you do that? Say sorry, because the mothers are quite strong. I don't agree with whacking, but mothers are quite strong in certain family backgrounds, and the mother is the actual head of the household. It's kind of weird in a lot of religions and cultures. The women are kind of like put down or beneath the guy or made to feel smaller than a guy, yet the mother is the head of the household and the most superior being, if you like, and one that keeps everything together, if you like. But if you watch a lot of Indian movies, it's all about the woman sacrificing her feelings and keeping quiet about things for the sake of her husband and children. I don't believe that's right. It's absolutely outdated nonsense. It's not the way healthy relationships are formed. A healthy relationship should have two people being able to express their opinions and feelings, as in, I feel this way when this happens. I feel this way when that happens, not going around accusing each other of things and not doing anything in the relationship. Right? She wasn't being lazy. He was being lazy by not even acknowledging he's got a baby and he needs to take responsibility for it as well. But yeah, he was trying to make her feel bad. It's called gaslighting, when you're blurring someone's reality and turning it back on the other person, which is actually, he didn't like the fact that she called him out, the fact that he's not doing anything to help. So he turned it all around on her to try and make her feel bad and like he was a bigger man. This is ego driven. This is not love. This is not care. If you truly love someone or even care about someone on a fundamental foundation level, you should have respect for them. You should have compassion for them. You should have empathy for them. You should take responsibility for all the actions, the mistakes, the things that you do wrong, the things that you've said or done. You should be taking full responsibility for that, right? How do you think a woman's going to feel if her husband comes home from work and then after a while says, like, what do you need help with around the house, darling? Tell me about your day. What needs doing? What can I help with? Right? Because that woman still needs help. And if you actually ask her what she needs, she'll tell you. And then you can feel more of a man that you're actually helping her out, that she's relying on you, that you're kind of making her feel more safe and protected because you're enabling her to actually come to you and tell you the truth of how she feels. This creates more intimacy in a relationship. Sex isn't intimacy as such. It's one form of physical intimacy, but it's not emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy is more important because that's what's going to see you through years and years and years later, when physical intimacy isn't so easy or it's not done as much because of the stresses of life, right? So one way you foster intimacy is being emotionally connected to person, and you're more emotionally connected to person when you're each understanding the other person, and when you're allowing that person to express how they feel, how their day went, what their issues are in life, what their problems are, how they're feeling, right? And you can do the same with them, and it's all about talking and expressing yourself openly and honestly. Now, if you've got issues where you're shut down, you're avoidant, you emotionally avoid things, you need to go to a therapist and sort that shit out, because you shouldn't be bringing that to a relationship. You shouldn't be bringing that to growing a family, babies and stuff. How do you think that's going to go down generation after generation? You're just going to be getting avoidant people who avoid intimacy, people who clam up, people who become unhealthy. That's not healthy, to avoid situations all the time, to clam up, to like not face things head on and not take responsibility. It's not healthy. That's not a healthy person. And you want to be a healthy person, right? You want to be a healthy person for you and your friends and your family, and also the person you decide to spend the rest of your life with in a partnership or marriage. Right? So get your act together now. Don't think, oh, I'm a man, I can't go to therapy, because that's your ego talking. And that doesn't solve the problems that you're going to have in your own life or your future life with your partner. It's just bullshit that guys can't go to therapy. More guys should go to therapy. There's loads of guys that have mental ill health, but they don't get help because they're taught it's not manly to get help. If guys got more help for their mental health, then we'd have less problems in the world, right? Because, you know, guys tend to, in statistic wise, right? Guys still tend to be more abusive towards women statistically, but there are women that abuse guys as well, right? And if you're an unhealthy guy, you could be, you're more likely to be an abuser yourself and a narcissist yourself, but also You could be unhealthy, as in you don't express your feelings and emotions, and you just literally end up being a doormat for a woman, and then she could end up using you or abusing you. You don't want to be in any of those scenarios. Both are really unhealthy and bad. So you want to sort yourself out before you get into a relationship as much as possible. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be fully healed. You're not going to have all your problems sorted out, but you need to get as much sorted out as possible so that you've got a good, healthy foundation of a relationship with someone, right? Why would you want years and years of your life of bickering, of having bad feeling, of not being able to express yourself or your emotions, of not being able to connect so intimately with your loved one? Why would you do that to yourself and to them? Can't you see you need to sort your stuff out now and you need to get help? Right? Do not be this asshole a guy that just doesn't take any responsibility for his child or the babies, and they leave it all to the woman. Right? Like I said, when you come home from work, if you're a guy who works, you should be asking, like, how's your day to the woman? Like, how did your day go, honey? Tell me about it. How are you feeling? Right? If you know something's been bothering the woman, you don't ignore it and go, oh, was your day good? Good. You know, that's crap. Right? I even had a guy on a site saying the bad news, saying, this is a dating site, saying, "Oh, how was your day?" I'm like, "Good, thanks." He's like, "You good?" It's like he's just I've just said it was good, and then he's saying, "You good?" Actually, the conversation after that went better. But it's like if someone's like repeating something I've already told him, it's like he's not really listening. So you need to develop active listening skills. Active listening skills are when someone says something to you and you've heard what they say and you actually take it in. So if someone says to you, "How was your day?" and you say, "Good, thanks," you then say, "Oh, brilliant. Tell me what was good about it." Right? Or if they say it's a really bad day, you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry you've had a bad day. Tell me why it was a bad day for you." Right? This gets you to emotionally connect with the person a lot quicker. But then you have to still share your day with them. You can't just expect someone to tell them all about their life, tell you all about their life and what's going on for them if you don't share anything, because that's not emotional connection. They can't get intimately emotionally close to you when all you're doing is closed off and asking them questions about themselves because you don't want to give anything away. If you're going to be in a relationship, it requires vulnerability. Normally, not with me because I'm naked repulsed, but normally you'd be naked physically with a person, you're naked mentally and emotionally with a person, really, or you're closed off and you clam up. And how is that working out for you so far? Right? You have an argument with someone, you clam up, you go away, and what happens? Do you feel any better for clamming up? Do you feel any better for like bottling all your feelings and emotions up in your head? Is that working out for you well? I doubt it, right? Because eventually you're going to explode and you're going to be repressing all that stuff. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for your future relationships or your future children. So you need to nail that stuff on the head right now and think, right, what am I doing that's wrong in terms of the way I am with dating, relationships, and what do I need to sort out? What's my responsibility? Until you start taking responsibility for your life and the situations you're in, you're never going to progress in your life, right? It doesn't mean to say that you can be in the situation that everyone else wants you to be in. You have to be in the right situation for you, but you have to be comfortable and happy with the situation you're in. And you have to work out if you're as healthy as you could be at the moment. Like, what could you improve on? Right. But so many guys can't even say sorry to women these days. Those of them are lying about their age on dating apps. They're showing pictures that aren't even like the latest thing a lot of the time. And it's just like, why do that, right? I know that if a guy's doing that, if a guy tells me just one lie and he lies about his age on a dating site, I'm just like, the guy's not for me because I don't want a liar. I don't want a guy to be able to lie to me about anything. If a guy can lie to me about one thing, he can lie to me about anything. And why would you want to be a liar? Do you want to go to your deathbed thinking, oh, I died lying? I died not taking responsibility. I died telling my woman she was lazy. I died not helping her around the house. I died not doing sweet FA for her, really. And I just may have gone out to work, got some money, but is that success just grabbing money? You know what I mean? Like I got money for the woman, but what else did I do to enhance her life and help her? I'm sure she'd rather have you being a nice, kind, caring, thoughtful, respectful guy towards her than have all the money and just working a job and coming home and barely even seeing you, right? So you should be thinking about all these things. right? If you can't even say, I'm really sorry that I made that mistake, I'm sorry I did this, if you can't even take responsibility, then what the hell are you even doing thinking about having a family, having a wife, having kids, having a relationship? Right? Because you need to get that shit sorted out first. So go and get it sorted out. And I know this probably isn't even sinking in a lot of your heads because you're like, a goldfish going, It's like, go and act on what I'm saying. Nothing happens unless you act, right? But as I've described earlier in this video, there was a good guy who's being good husband, good father, and a guy who's being absolute rubbish husband, rubbish father. The good guy, to recap, was the guy who actually asked his really young son, would you like to be with mummy or would you like to be with daddy sat next to mummy or daddy during the trip? Allowed the son to actually say what he wanted. So the son sat next to daddy because that's what the son said he wanted, right? When I later moved, he actually went and sat next and on mummy's lap, right? Because I moved seats. But the guy, when I first got on, the woman was his wife was quite rude to me. So his wife was a bit aggressive in the sense that she's like, well, I booked these seats, like basically she wasn't happy that I had a hold on me. Even though in the end I tucked it under my seat anyway. I mean, she didn't even give me chance to say what I was going to do with it, right? I just said I need it because it's got clothes and food I need, which is perfectly fine because I booked that seat anyway myself where I was actually sat, you know. And I thought, that was being a bit disrespectful and rude to me. I didn't like her tone of voice. I didn't know how to respond to that. But I appreciated she got a child and she got a husband. Luckily, the husband was really nice. The husband, like I said, asked the son which parent he wanted to be with. So he gave the son agency, allowed the son to make his own decision. He then said to me, no rush for getting like my stuff ready to move out the way so he could get his seat. He's really kind, and then later on, he personally thanked me so much, right? So he was good. He was taking part with his son. His mum, the wife, and him were both kind of like playing games with the son, talking to the son about the food they got him. They were both taking an active role. The father was quite laid back and relaxed, much more laid back and relaxed than the wife, actually. And he was taking an active part in things. And he was being really calm and kind and caring and compassionate and, like a really good friend to the wife. The best advice I can give you is if you're going to get into a relationship, to be best friends with that person, right? In some cultures like Indian, Bangladesh, Middle Eastern, right? You have this bonding with your male friends, right? It's like they're your brother, right? They're not even your blood brother usually. They're your brother because you treat them like one and you're like this with them, right? You need to have that relationship like that with your woman, right? Because when you've got that type of relationship and you know that you've got each other's back and that you know that you're bestest friends and nothing's going to come between you, not even time, space, or anything, that's going to give you the best relationship, right? And I'm sure when you're with your brothers that you're kind, caring, and considerate, and that you keep in contact with them and you want to know, about meeting up and you enthusiastic to see them and you'll pat each other on the back and you're caring about the other person, right? You need to take all that energy and effort you put into your brothers and you need to put it into the relationship you have with your partner or wife and child, right? It shouldn't be, oh, because that's a man, I behave this way because he's my brother. It should be you take that type of energy, that type of responsibility, that type of level of engagement, involvement, enthusiasm, and put it into your relationship with your partner, your wife, and kids. Because don't forget, most of the guys that you're with at the moment will get a relationship in the future, will get married, will have kids of their own, so they'll probably see you a lot less. And if that's reality of the situation, right? And if you do not make best friends with the person that you're in a relationship with, you're going to have a much more closed off relationship, more of a rocky ride, and you're not going to be able to develop that deep emotional bond that you need, right? The more emotionally you are connected to the person, the deeper the level of intimacy. And actually, for many people who like physical contact, who like sex, making love, all those type of things, and touching and caressing, they are more likely to be able to want to do that, including a woman more likely able to want to do that when she feels emotionally connected and taken care of by her partner, and she feels that he's really enthusiastic to see her, that he really wants to be there for her, that really likes to comfort her, be there in her worst times as well as her good times, comfort her in sickness and in health, and be there for her as an aid to her, and as a help to her, and literally a best friend. Like if that woman died, you'd be absolutely in bits because you love her that much, right? Especially if she's gonna mother your children, right? You should be at that level of love, care, intimacy, and connection, right? And if you're behaving like an asshole, you cannot get that because you'll just push her away. You'll have emotional distance. She won't be able to talk to you. She might even have another guy on the side that you don't even frigging know about who's emotionally connected to her, who can give her what she wants like that. Yeah, you may end up marrying her, but her heart may end up being with someone else. We know this happens actually in Indian relationships, don't we? Let's face it, I've known people who are married, but yet they're Skyping another guy. They're talking to another guy. Usually it's the guy I find this out from, not the woman, but I've seen evidence of it, right? And so, you know, you might want to con yourself that, oh, I can treat my woman however I want. You can't. And you shouldn't even have that damn attitude. It's disgusting, right? Why would you want to be a nasty, horrible person, right? You shouldn't want to be that in life. You should want to be the most beautiful person for yourself and for your partner and for your future children. Do you want a child to grow up seeing mummy and daddy fighting or not even intimate with each other, not even caring about each other? What do you think that child's going to grow up? They're going to grow up with mental health problems. Probably either they're going to be bullied or they're going to be a bully. Probably they're going to be like horrible to their future partner. And if they're going to associate love with hostility, they're not even going to want that. Or if someone comes near them, they're going to be afraid to love because they're going to associate that with hostility and bad energy and bad feelings and bad emotions. You don't want that, right? You want to foster love, positivity, support, generosity, kindness, caring. Generosity doesn't necessarily have to be with money. It can be with your time, right? So many people come as couples, they get home from work, or one gets home from work, the other's in the house, and they just don't talk and they put the television on. That's not connection. That's not emotionally connecting with the person. You shouldn't just come home and just be watching endless amounts of TV together and movies. There is a time and place for that. Yes, shared interests and shared movies are great, but that's all you're doing day after day. You're not even emotionally engaging with that person. You're not talking to them. You should have a period of time where you're not having TV, where your phone's put away, where you're actively listening to the person. This means no other distractions, not talking to other people, not messaging other people back. You're having quality time with your partner, right? And if you've got a kid, with your kid. And so you're not having all these outside influences. The TV is fucking, excuse my language, fictional most of the time. Why are you putting your time, energy, and effort into something fictional that's not actually real life here and now with you? And even the news is fabricated a lot of the time. It's to get you to feel fear so that people can control you, in case you didn't already know that. But that's another story. But yes, if all you're doing is piling all your time, energy, and effort into the wrong things like social media, and I'm not saying social media doesn't have its place, I do a lot of it, but that's all you're doing, and you're not spending like quality time with the person every night of your life, and you're not having date time. Like, you should be having a date night once a week with your partner. Even if you're married for years, you should be having quality time together so that you can live a most vibrant, best relationship life with your partner ever. Because otherwise, what's the alternative? You just come home and don't talk to each other. That isn't a real relationship, is it? Some people have that type of relationship. A lot of people do. It goes on for years, but that isn't the intimate level that you could go to. You could reach a much more deeper level where actually physical contact would be more likely to be more welcome when a person feels more comfortable and close to you. Even if it's just cuddling, which asexuals love, by the way, a lot of them, then you know what I mean? It's much better to do that. But if all you're doing is not even addressing issues in your relationship, if someone feels left out, lonely, someone feels avoided, someone feels like they're doing more stuff in part of the relationship than the other person's doing, one person's more enthusiastic than the other person is, it's imbalanced. You need to have balance in a relationship, right? You need to have enthusiasm. The person should be happy to have a message. You shouldn't be with a person who's going, oh, not another message from her again. You should be happy to message your partner. The person that you message should be like, oh, I really want to hear how your day's going. And then they share their day with you and you give them support. And give them feedback and whatever is best for them. Sometimes they just want support. Sometimes they just want a virtual hug if you don't live together. Sometimes they want actual feedback or suggestions. So when you get into relationship or partnership, sometimes you've got to try and weigh up, does this person want my advice, or does this person just want support and a hug and someone to feel safe with, and that they're there for them, whatever decision that person makes. Allow that person to have the responsibility, if they want, of making the decisions, making their choices. But sometimes they want your input because they're like, I'm out of ideas, can you give me some? Other times they just want to sound off at you, and they just want to say they've had a really bad day. They felt like shit, like their boss complained about them. They didn't get their work on time. They made spelling errors in such and such a form. Everything went wrong from the moment they walked in the office, and they've had a crazy day. Like, that's not going to be the best time to say, oh, can I have sex with you right now? You know what I'm saying? Be thoughtful, kind, and caring. So if you're a person who does have sex, I don't personally, right? And so, but like, they want to talk about that, right? And by allowing them to talk about that and get their emotions out and feel safe and supported by you, that's fostering a loving, healthy, caring, committed relationship. It's allowing them to feel safe. Like, traditionally, a guy's meant to make, if you're talking about traditional gender roles, a guy's meant to make the woman, feel safe and supported. And one of the ways of doing that is actually be openly communicating with her. It's actually to have some feminine traits and be sensitive and empathetic to her, and a listening ear and open, right? These are kind of feminine traits, traditional feminine traits, right? In reality, men and women should both have some traits of each other. So a woman should have some feminine, not just feminine traits, but should have some masculine traits. A man should have some feminine traits in order for them to come together and understand each other. So a woman should be able to take care of herself, be assertive, push her life forward, go for her own goals, ambitions, and dreams, which is kind of masculine energy. And a man should be able to feel like able to empathize with a woman, able to open up his feelings to her. These are kind of more feminine traits, to be open, like a flower, for example, right? So, whatever gender you are, you do need a good balance of both to understand the other gender, and to understand each other, right? And to be able to foster good, healthy relationship. So, don't be an a-hole. Work out what you need to change your life. Like, take responsibility. Don't lie. These are basic stuff that you should know how to do, but a lot seem to like think it's okay to lie these days, right? Be compassionate, kind, and caring, and empathetic. Do follow-ups with the person. Like, if you're having a conversation with someone and someone says something happened in their life, like, if someone's not feeling well, don't say, oh, that's great. That's awful thing to say to someone. I've had someone saying that to me the other day, and I'm like, I don't really ever want to talk to that person again, right? Because they're not really listening to me. Or if they are, they're the most unempathetic, uncompassionate person, and I don't want to know them. Why would I want to settle for second best with an uncompassionate, insensitive, disrespectful guy? If that person thinks it's all right for me to be unwell or me to be harmed or whatever, then he's not the right guy for me, right? He basically couldn't give a shit about me. And there's no way you can start a relationship or dating scenario with a person not giving a shit. The person at least has to have some care about you, some vested interest in you, something they like about you, some way of being enthusiastic about you, right? You don't want to go on a date with someone who doesn't give a shit about you, who's selfish, who doesn't take responsibility for their own actions, and who's a liar, right? Who wants to date someone like that? But some dates end up being that way, unfortunately. Don't blame yourself. Just know not to go back to that person again, right? And if you're a person that thinks you've changed, what have you actually changed, right? If you have said sorry once in your life, but you've not said it sorry for the next like 10 years or whatever, or you said sorry like once 2 years ago, you haven't said it since, I think you need to look again at your life and think, when could I have said sorry? Because I bet there's quite a few times you could have said sorry more than once in 2 years, right? And where could you be more empathetic? Where could you be more compassionate, right? Would you like it if someone wished you dead, or wished you ill health, or was happy to see that you're poorly and sick? Would that be good for you? Would you be happy if someone just brushed your illness under the carpet? Right? No, these are uncompassionate, uncaring, unfeeling, unkind things. Right? You need to be compassionate and caring and loving. right? The world will only get better if we've got more sensitive people in the world, if we've got more kind people in the world, if we've got more compassionate people in the world, if we've got more empathetic people in the world. People who will say to you, if anyone ever says to you, you're too sensitive, that's a bad person saying that. You can't be too sensitive, right? Sensitivity is actually a gift. It means you have empathy usually for someone else. It means you can feel what other people feel. It means you can have compassion. It means you can have respect and kindness, because these are the traits that usually come with being sensitive. And being sensitive is a good thing because it shows that you care. It shows that you're not a robot, that you're not just going through the motions, that you're not cut off and you're not avoidant, right? Being sensitive to the life and the way life is, right? Being sensitive to people's feelings is a really important skill. It's like a soft skill to learn. It's very good in sales, actually, customer service. If you're in groups of people, to work out like who's actually comfortable talking to you, who's not, but just doesn't want to say it. These types of things are huge skills. Sensitive people usually got good perception. They can be more intuitive because they can let their intuition come through more. And so these are really good qualities. Anyone who says you're being too sensitive, it's just because they're being nasty to you, because they don't want you to talk about what you're talking about. They don't want to listen. They want to avoid it. They want to push you away. You don't want to be with that type of person. Like, just get that person out of your life because they're being an asshole, right? A person should love you for who you are, should care about your sensitive quality. They should be thinking, oh my gosh, I've got a beautiful, sensitive woman who listens to my needs, who understands me, who is compassionate, who is caring. And I give her that same respect, love, caring, and compassion back, and we have this amazing teamwork. A relationship is built on teamwork. If you think you're better than the woman because you're a man, you're deeply mistaken. At the end of the day, women are actually the ones that usually give birth to children, right? And so how do you work out that you're more superior than a woman when probably you came from a woman in the frigging first place, and without a woman you wouldn't even exist? It's just ridiculous. It's very misogynist, very bad, male chauvinistic attitude to have. You should be grateful that women exist, that I don't want kids, but I'm still grateful my mum had me, because I wouldn't be able to help people now. I wouldn't be on this channel now. Do you know what I mean? My parents are not asexual. I am. And so, I'm still grateful. My parents have been married 54 years this month, this coming week, actually, this week, I should say. So this coming week, because we're on the 21st now, it's the 25th. And so, yes, so, everyone works differently. You have to find out the dynamics that work for you, but just make sure that you are not being an a-hole, that you're being loving, caring, compassionate, understanding, that you're actually asking the person you're in a relationship with how they feel, how they think things are going, ask them to express themselves, share details of your life with them, and allow them to answer your questions. You respond appropriately. If someone's saying they're having a hard day, you don't go, "That's nice, dear." That's not actively listening. Why would you want your partner to have a bad day unless you're a complete asshole? In which case, the person shouldn't be with you, right? Because you shouldn't want that type of thing. You should be listening to them. Active listening means you do repeat things back to the person sometimes, but in a good way. You don't repeat, so say I said I had a really bad day, like I use that example, you'd say, okay, so what was bad about your day? So you've listened to the fact that person's had a bad day. And if you can have a conversation with someone, then repeat back some of the stuff they said. So, so you've told me this, and you've told me that, and you told me that person did this. So where did it go from here? That type of thing. This is healthy communication. So please watch this video again to take all the information in. Give it a thumbs up if you got any value from it whatsoever. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. And don't forget to share this with anyone you think may benefit, as I said, and subscribe and hit the bell icon. Yes. And you can get Asexual Perspectives, which has got love, life, and sex from an asexual point of view with lots of advice in it, on Amazon. So take care. I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. Lots of love. Bye. Bye.